Once again, it didn't want to count to 1. It just cut off at 3. Here we go. So I guess that's because there's 3 of us here tonight. Welcome back to Horse Center. Myself, Swiss Army Shawn, and Jockey Ferrin Peterson, but more than a jockey, also a veterinarian. And, you got 2 jobs. How do you handle doing both, Ferrin?
Well, I try to utilize every hour of the day. Today I didn't have any races. Indiana has a week off, so I spent the morning at Keeneland, breezed 8 horses, then spent the day at Haggard doing farm calls. And basically when we have night racing, I'll work during the afternoon. Any day I don't have races, I just love it. It's my passion. So I want to fill all of my days doing horse activities.
So you used to fill your days getting ready to be a veterinarian with horse racing. And then, we hear stories about the jockey's room sometimes getting a little bit of fun in there at times, a little bit of back and forth. But you spent your time in there with books. You studied, become a veterinarian in between races. So how was that? What was that like?
I did. I was fortunate that I had the jockey's room to myself. I was the only female riding at Golden Gate. And between races, I would just turn off the TV, read my books, have my laptop in there. Didn't have Wi-Fi, but it kind of kept me from getting distracted, pulling up other tabs. So I was able to focus on that, would listen to my podcasts on my drives, and just made it work. When I really want something, I just find a way to get it done. And it doesn't always seem logical. And then I look back and managed to accomplish it and really enjoyed my time in vet school because of it.
The can-do spirit. We got to love that. So speaking of can-do, you did come out. You're from California.
Yes.
And you got your first win at Golden Gate. So how did it feel to get that first win on home turf?
It was great. I've been riding there probably about a month or 2 and was getting close to my clinical year. So the countdown felt like it was coming. I didn't think I would have time to be a jockey during clinics, since now you're on rotations and you have to work weekends and be on call. So I just thought I want to get that win, and then I can finish my jockey career and go on and be a vet. And it came kind of unexpectedly, and it was on a Sunday, and I remember studying that day for a surgery exam the following day. So afterwards, people were asking me how I would go celebrate, and I said I need to rush home because I have a lot more studying to do tonight. And I did pass the surgery exam. And then because of that win, I started gaining momentum and picked up several other wins. And before clinics, I'd actually started my bug with my 5th win. So I decided, well, I better keep this going. And I managed to keep riding just as a part-time jockey without an agent, and represented myself throughout the next year. And then because of that, I decided I would go full-time and see what happens when I did get an agent, and decided to give it my all.
Yeah. So before all of that, way back when you were a little bit younger, in between your 6-foot dad and your 4'11" mom, you decided you wanted to be you decided long before then you wanted to be a jockey. Your parents and you didn't really come from the horse racing background, but you do have a horse background. You grew up with jumping and dressage. So, for uncultured people like me, what is that?
Thing I like about dressage, it's about getting horses to do these elaborate movements with you using very small aids. So you should use really subtle movements to get a horse to prance in place or turn on their hindquarters in a pirouette. And as a jockey, we're just hovering above the horse, holding on with our ankles, and we're holding on to the reins. And we've seen performances like Flavien and Pratt where sometimes you only have one rein and you still have to get the horse around that track. So I think it's really been an aid to me to use myself subtly and be able to give major commands to a horse running at 40 miles an hour and get them to respond to you. So that's what dressage is to me. I wouldn't have thought, since it's a much slower paced equestrian sport, it doesn't seem like it would make sense but it helps me all the time.
And how does it help you?
Just, again, because you have only your ankles in contact with the horse and your reins. And so figuring out how to use your body weight, very small movements with your hand, like squeezing and releasing at just the right time on the reins to let the horse know what you want it to do. So if you need it to go outside another horse, to give it the confidence to go through a hole or up the rail. And so a lot of it just comes with the direction of like your thoughts and focus.
Let's talk about a couple years ago where you finished second in the jockey standings at Monmouth, and Julie Crone, who's been on the show, was your agent. Talk about that year.
Yeah, that was an exciting year. it was COVID year, and so I'd had probably about half a year off from even being able to ride a race because I had moved from California to New Jersey, and the only tracks that were still running during COVID were the ones that were having a meet during COVID. But Monmouth is just a spring summer meet, so they kept delaying it. So I moved my life out to New Jersey, didn't have any races to ride, was just galloping at a small track with a half-mile track. And so I wasn't really sure what it was going to be like. And in California, I never was able to gain momentum, which was why I decided to go to the East Coast, because I believed I had this gift as a jockey and a rider, but I didn't know for sure. I'd never been given those kind of mounts. So Julie had spotted me riding at Del Mar, and she believed in me, and she was the one who said, Louise, you should go to the East Coast. That's where she had a lot of success. And I remember the first couple weekends, I just got a few seconds and no wins, and Julie told me, be patient. She said when I came back from my second career, when she rode in California, she said it took a while for them to even give me a mount, and it took me several weeks to get a win, and I was already in the Hall of Fame at that point. So having her mentorship to just stay patient and focused and confident, and to know, okay, I am capable of winning and, getting a horse across the finish line first, and that it just takes the right horse. And all of a sudden, when I see the momentum carry really quickly, and at the start of the meet, someone was saying to me, oh, I think you're going to give Paco a run for his money. And I thought, there is no chance. He was just already winning, multiple a day right off the bat. And by the end of the meet, he beat me by 9 wins.
Yeah, you bring up Paco. Paco's always a hot topic on the show.
Oh, yeah. Have you had him on yet?
No, we haven't had him on yet. We may not ever get him on after the show.
Yeah, I don't
we'll
know.
See.
Yeah. So what do you think of the not using the whip, now using the whip, but using 6 strikes? What do you think of all that?
I just like that we're making things uniform between different states, because it is complicated to go from one state to the next and have different rules, and what's the magic number, and is it after the quarter pole, is it after the 3/8 pole? So I just think with how much moving around we do in the country, it's nice to have a set standard. So I'm glad that we're having some uniformity now.
And you've also done a lot for animals and a lot for horses. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's been a passion of mine for a while to give back. And so when I was in undergrad doing my bachelor's at Cal Poly, I went to Myanmar, or Burma. It's out by Thailand and India. And I spent 2 weeks in the jungles working with mules and pack Mongolian ponies. And they deliver supplies to remote villages. And we would bathe in rivers. I taught the villagers how to treat their water buffalo, pigs. I did dentistry on a monkey. Just everything that you could have to see in a jungle where these people had never seen a vet before. I thought, well, some veterinary care is better than nothing, as long as, nothing's invasive. And the gift of teaching people is something I really care about, so that when I leave, they can continue on with good animal husbandry. So then I returned 2 years later. And then when I was in vet school, there was an opportunity to apply for a summer research grant. So I wrote one about Ethiopian abandonment of cart horses, and I spent a summer there and just really got to live with veterinarians at the vet school and immerse myself in that culture. And a lot of people said they don't think they could do a project like that because it's sad to see, what these horses go through. But it's also really great to give that back to people who do love their horses and rely on their horses for their livelihood. And it is a huge part of their economy, delivering people and supplies with these cart horses. And so it's something that is going on and is going to continue. So why not teach people how to do it in a better way for the animals?
Let's talk about the sport of horse racing. Do you think, since you've gotten in the game, that we're treating the animals better and we're on the way to, treating them better and they're getting better treatment?
Yeah, I do. I've been a jockey for 4 years, and seeing the momentum and some of the grassroots organizations who have just worked to come up with, ways. In a way, it was already there. You see pretty amazing care of these top athletes between getting massages and MagnaWave and acupuncture and chiropractors. And because it's at a racetrack, everything is so regulated, whereas horses in the backyard, we can regulate that and see what kind of treatment they're being given. And, you know, what people are willing to spend on supplements and nutrition is pretty impressive. So they are treated very well. And so I think getting that point across to the media has been something that we've done a better job about. And then just looking at some of the practices and figuring out what could be done better. You know, it's always going to be tricky because everyone has different opinions. Medicine's always changing, research is always changing, but I like it that it feels like we have this momentum and we're pulling together to figure out how to benefit the horses, and that's really what's going to help carry our sport. It's the horses first.
Mm-hmm. And Eli wants to know, what about when they're done racing? What sort of things are they doing to help the horses? I know they have a lot of aftercare programs. Any that you're a part of?
Yeah, I've been a part of some of the fundraisers for them. So the Real Rider Cup I was part of last year, and that raised mine, I think, raised $4,000. They did the Real Rider Cup again this year, which I couldn't be a part of because it conflicted with Ellis, but they raised $90,000. And, you know, it's a small amount compared to how much aftercare is needed out there. But you just keep seeing these groups form, and people who are part of aftercare, because I'm involved with quite a few of them, tell me that it's pretty amazing to see the transformation, and that wasn't an option before. We have old friends out here in Lexington, and you get a lot of the famous champion horses who are here, and they do tours, so the fans can come and see them. So I just think that's really great. So there's always more work to be done. There have also been some ownership groups like Eclipse Thoroughbreds, where people who sign on to become an owner, they have to sign that they will continue to put them in their aftercare, and just taking on that responsibility from the start. And I've been a small animal veterinarian as well. And so I think it's just a problem in horses or race horses. I think there are plenty of people out there who buy a dog because they're cute, don't realize, you know, how much work they're going to be, or the dog becomes diabetic and now they have to give insulin twice a day, which is a life-saving treatment, but some people don't want to do that, so they just opt to euthanize. And so I think it's inherent in all animals, and we just see it a lot more in racing because it's such a hot topic on the media. But it's really just about humans having responsibility, and when they decide to get an animal of any kind, knowing up front what the responsibility is.
Mm-hmm. So you had an animal early on, Shaylee. Did I pronounce that correctly? That was your first horse?
My
Shaylee?
first horse, Sahi.
Me and my pronunciation. Was that your first horse?
Yes.
The way I looked at it, looked like Saylee to me. So that's the way we're pronouncing it going forward. But anyway.
No worries. That's Sahi. It means true in Arabic.
Ah.
So my mom had a horse, an Arabian, when I was growing up, and a pony. But then when I was 8, I was given him as my own horse. And then I had him. We were the same age. And then he died at 26. But I brought him to college with me. I worked as a waitress so I could pay for his board because I was just so attached to this horse and I wanted him to be with me. I wanted to keep him in training to just keep him healthy and aging well. And he did. He lived a good life, and, you know, he died of just kind of natural old horse causes.
So when you were in college and you told everybody I brought a horse with me, how did that go? I mean, that's a great icebreaker at a party. Hey, how are you? My name is Ferrin and I have a horse. Want to meet him? Let's go. How did that go?
It was more crazy to my family. I have 2 older sisters, and they kept saying to me, "You're not going to bring your horse to college." And I said, "I'm going to find a way," kind of like everything else I've done in life. And when I went there were actually quite a few other students because it's an agricultural school and I was an animal science major. My parents said, "I can't believe other people have this idea to bring their horses to college." So it actually is a thing, and I wasn't the first one to come up with it. But kind of like becoming a jockey in my family, they just go, "We don't know where you come up with these crazy ideas, but I get it done."
So I think the craziest idea I read about you is not bringing a horse to the track. Certainly not riding a horse. A lot of people do that. It's not studying in between races. You were a pole vaulter. What's wrong with you? Did you ever worry about that thing snapping and impaling yourself, or it never crossed your mind?
I've sprained my neck. I was breaking the school. It was the league meet record school, and it was only second year pole vaulting. And when I get in the air, I would close my eyes. I never realized I did it, but it was just sort of some gymnasts say they do it when they're doing flips, and it was the way I could feel my body awareness. So I thought I'd gotten over the crossbar, and the whole stadium is watching because I'd already broken the record. We were raising the crossbar another 6 inches, and so they're announcing it, and I go straight up, straight down. It's at the end of the runway. You plant the pole in a metal box that is 8 inches deep, and that's what I landed on my back and the end of my neck. So I wore a neck brace for the last 2 months of sophomore year of high school, which is actually kind of fun. I got people to sign it. I never had a cast before, so just kind of went with it. And it never caused any problems, though, because a lot of pole vaulters go through mind blocks, and because it is a pretty ridiculous, crazy sport. I don't know who decided we should run full speed on a pole that bends, and then it flings us into the air, and then we do this stick maneuver over a crossbar. But it's a thing. It's popular. My older sister, she's 5 years older, she had done it, and she broke the high school record. So I watched her excel at that, and I decided to try it, and then I broke her record. But she said as long as it stayed in the family name, that was okay.
Sure, that's what she said. So she didn't have a choice.
Does your family watch all your crazy ideas?
Well, my dad was actually the one who came up with the pole vault idea, because my older sister, he just thought she'd be good at it. She loved to climb trees. And it's funny that he picked it for her because she's only 5 foot. I'm 5'4". And as a pole vaulter, you want to be tall. Usually the top pole vaulters in the world are Russian. They're these kind of big, heavy people. And so when my sister took off, she was really a star, and people noticed her because she was this tiny person who could fling through the air. So he learned just by taking her to practices of a friend he had who had a pole vault pit in his backyard. He was training his son, and his son actually made it to the Olympics. So they were really into it. So he started bringing my sister, learned about pole vault through that because my dad had been a triple jumper in track and field. So then he became the high school coach. So even though he never pole vaulted, he learned the sport, and then he coached me, and it was a really neat way to bond. And then I continued on in college, and he came to all my track meets, even though I was in Southern California and about 6 hours away from where he was. But he's been really supportive. So when I became a jockey, he tells me all the time that this is his favorite sport, and he's an avid cyclist. So that means a lot. But he and my mom watch all my races because my mom has a horse background. And then my dad, I guess, is kind of an adrenaline junkie. So the combination, they really love what I'm doing.
You're the one that's going through all the adrenaline, though, right? They're just along for the ride, so to speak.
Yeah, just watching.
So you mentioned that you had done some work with Julie Crone, but you got a chance to live with the legend for a little bit. So how did you not bother her all the time for insights? Because if I were around somebody that kind of was where I wanted to be, I don't think they'd ever get a second away from me. They would probably change the locks on the door and say, "Your time here is over." How did that not happen to you?
We were really good friends right off the bat. We were living in San Diego together when I'd moved into her house, because that was when she told me she would take me on, mentor me, and the Del Mar meet was over. So I thought, well, how am I going to pay for rent if I'm not riding races and I'm living down here? So she said, well, we have a spare office. So I just lived on a mattress, and it was in their office. And whenever I'd go to do my day, I would put the mattress behind the couch so it would revert back to an office. I had a friend once from vet school come down and visit me, and I said, so I'm a doctor and a professional athlete, and I'm living in Julie Crone's office on a mattress. But I say, I really want to make this happen, and I can't afford to live in San Diego otherwise. And then Julie had her Equicizer there in the house, and it had the Colonial Affair saddle towel from her Belmont win. And her library has statues of her, all these plaque trophies and Hall of Fame plaques. So it was really inspiring to live there and just see that every day and think I'm living with a legend. And then when we moved to the East Coast, we stayed in a house with her friends. And luckily it was a large house, because then once I was riding races, there's just so much more pressure when you are competing to try to be the top rider of the meet, and she's learning to be an agent, and so there's a lot going on. But it was really fun, and we stayed good friends through it, and it made us just that much closer.
Shawn?
So what do you think, after 4 years of riding, what do you think your strength is?
Getting out of the gate. There's actually a stat that a few people have showed me that I'm one of the top gate riders in the country, and it shows that 23% of the time I break on top, and less than 1% I break last, and that's in my career. So I always knew I had a gift for breaking out of the gate. It's just something I don't try too hard at, and I think that's part of it, is just being relaxed on the horse, letting them find themselves getting out of there. And so it was only a few months ago that a few people started bringing up this stat to me. So that was encouraging, because I think that's something that you can work on, but you can only get so good at. And so that's something, gets them right in position for the race.
Do you look for speed horses then to ride?
They are my favorite. I love 2-year-olds. I won on a 2-year-old at Keeneland and at Churchill, and at Monmouth I was riding a lot of 2-year-old races and winning on debuts, and I love giving them that first experience. And I think if they can get away with a clean break without having to get dirt in their face the first time or get bumped, it gives a lot of them that bravery on the front end. So I think it really does help them.
Rich actually brought this up before. Do you think a lot of long shots, they win when they're in front like that? Like the first time they get out front?
Because my first, I guess, top riding mentor when I was down at Del Mar was Patrick Valenzuela. And many people have told me he was the best gate rider they ever saw. And he told me so many times, he says, when you look at a horse's form and you're on a long shot and they've never been on the lead, try your best to put them on the lead, and they're going to get that confidence because they've, never had that before. And it's worked so many times. And even if they can't hold them off till the end, they'll often hit the board. And Chris McCarron started mentoring me here, and I didn't realize it, but he was watching me ride at Turfway. And that was one of the first things he brought up, because there's so many horses you've ridden that never showed speed, didn't belong in the race. You put them on the lead, and then they hit the board and ran impressively and stayed with the group. So it really does help their confidence.
Yeah, I noticed that, Shawn. You're right. I just, from watching these races over and over and over again, it seems to me if you want to pick a price, it almost never is the Rich Strike story. That's great for the Kentucky Derby, where it comes from last to first on a crazy ride. But most of the time, I'd probably say 7 out of 8 times when a bomb comes home, it's a long shot that got close to the front, has managed to take it to the end of the race for sure. So with your background in pole vaulting and your background with the jumpers, do you ever think about maybe heading overseas and doing some of the jumping races in like England or at Saratoga before those first 2 cards they're doing jumpers at in Virginia now too, right? At the Colonial Downs sometimes at the end.
Yeah, I believe they are. I've watched some of those races, and I have friends who do it. I think it would be really fun, but it's just so different. They say, like some of the steeplechase jockeys, when they ride flat horses, they say that's different. They're not used to getting a horse out of the gate, going that speed. And then they say when flat jockeys have tried to go to steeplechase, a lot of it is rating a horse in the beginning. And so they say a lot of times, being such smaller people, they have a hard time rating the horse. So I thought that was interesting. But it would be fun. And I don't think I'd be scared of anything out there. I've done fox hunting in Ireland, and they jump wire fences and stone walls and ditches, and I had a blast. I don't think I'll do it, but you never know.
Sounds like you might be on the X Games one day, Shawn. What do you think?
Yeah, it does. Why not?
Well, you might as well head to a snowboard next. I think you could probably do great.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything she wouldn't do, right?
Yeah,
I would try it. Gotta try it once.
We talk to a lot of jockeys that say they talk to the horses. So with you being a vet, I'm sure you talk to the horses. Are you talking to the horses, and what are you saying to them?
I think a lot of things, kind of like my dressage background, is through your body language. And I also have done really well with nervous fillies. And so just being able to take deep breaths, stay calm is something I watched Mike Smith do really well over the years. And the way he can stroke a horse and just get a horse to calm down and get into its element. And I've seen that several times where in the paddock, my horse looks really fractious. And then once they leg me up, the horse seems to quiet down and find, its comfort. So that's something that I think is also a gift. And that just comes with being a rider and having the right mindset going into it. So that would be kind of the main way that I talk to them. Julie said that she used verbal cues a lot. sometimes I'll do that where you can actually in a race kind of say like whoa to them and speak calmly, kind of like a dog can really tell the tone of your voice. And definitely down the stretch, I'm yelling to them, which was always funny at Turfway this winter because we didn't have fans. And so when I'd be in a stretch duel, I'd be yelling all the way down. And I would think there are only like 5 trainers along the rail watching.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other jockeys would laugh at me. But it really does work. You'll see their ears turn back to you and listen. And Julie taught me that too. She would say, during the race, did you see the horse's ears turn back to you? And I thought, what? They can't pay attention to you in a race with everything going on around them. And the more comfortable I've gotten with riding races, the more in tune I get with my mounts and realize they really are looking to us for that confidence, whether they need to wait and relax or whether they need to go through that hole. And so I think just there's a lot more that we communicate with animals, for better or for worse, that we don't realize. And that's why it's so important to be in control of your emotions too. And if you have a bad race, just you have 10 minutes when you go back to the jock's room to be mad about your race. And then after that, you have to snap out of it. You have to be a new person when you go back into the paddock to see your owner and trainer. Or if you just want to race, you can't be over the moon either. She said, each race has to be its own race. And pole vault really helped me with that, because every time you complete a jump, you get 3 attempts at each crossbar, and then they raise it 6 inches. So then you have to, you might have almost gotten out and gotten that height on your 3rd jump, so you're a bit like stressed over that. And now you have to start fresh. And you don't want to get everything on your 3rd jump because you're using up a lot more energy. So you want to go into it with confidence. So that kind of the sports toughness and psychology that I got out of pole vaulting has really carried through to being a jockey.
Plus falling 40 feet or 30 feet or 12 feet or however many feet you fell, you've already had a pretty bad spill there. So certainly understandable. You can get through that fall off, just as long as you're not in first place when you fall off the horse, right? You'll be all right.
Yeah, as long as the field's not behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. My dog knows when I'm mad too. Like if I lose a race in betting, or a contest or something, it knows right away I'm mad. I don't know if you can smell it, but if on the rare occasion I put out the F word, she knows right away. Boom! She gets up and out of the room. It's hilarious to me, but it's true. But I don't use the F word that often, just like 43 times a day. But I used to do it more than that. Anyway, Shawn, any other final thoughts?
So where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years with your riding career?
I really want to get to the top level. I want to be riding in graded stakes. I want to be riding around the country, internationally. So that's why I put myself in Kentucky. I just saw it as an opportunity where a lot of the top horses are. Obviously, Kentucky breds are the top in the country. And watching where so many of the Breeders' Cup horses are coming from. And so that's what I want to really focus on. So that's why I put myself here.
So if anybody wants to follow along your ride with you on your social sites, what's the best place to keep up with you?
Probably Instagram and Twitter. I'm on Facebook as well. So I keep all 3. And I'm just starting to dabble in TikTok.
Oh, Shawn's gonna do a dance yet? So what kind of thing? I see all these TikTok videos where people are dancing. Are you gonna do the one where the people talk and then they put like their print underneath what they're saying? Like as if people can't hear them, or are you gonna do like the funky like challenge dances?
Maybe a challenge dance. That sounds fun.
Yes, you and Shawn. You'll do it, then you'll send it to Shawn, and Shawn's got to go next.
He'll accept my challenge.
He will have to wholeheartedly, because that was the deal.
I don't have
Shawn.
a TikTok yet, so I'm good.
Okay, well, hurry up and create that.
Now you have incentive, Shawn.
Yeah,
right.
There we go.
Well, we appreciate your time, Ferrin, this evening. It was a fun conversation. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. And of course, again, keep up with Ferrin on her social sites. We'll link to them in the recap for today. Good luck. We hope to see you a lot in the winner's circle. And when you do make it to the winner's circle at the Kentucky Derby, when Shawn rings you up, don't pretend like you don't know him anymore. All right.
Picture.
Fantastic. Thank you and have a great evening.
All right. You too. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye. Mr. Shawn.
Look at that. We promised her 20 to 30 minutes, and it was 30 minutes on the dot.
Right on. I mean, I am just such a keeper of time, Shawn. Can't you tell? It's the.
You probably didn't even glance at the time one bit.
It's the Swiss in me, right? My grandparents come from Switzerland, so sweet Switzerland, yes. So it's got to be the Swiss in me, Shawn. My grandmother. Then they moved into Germany. And then anyway, enough of the family history there, Sean. Nobody cares. So this weekend, Cyberknife, Sean. So you were a star of the show last week. Ain't nobody gonna beat Jack Christopher. I thought you were probably right. I said it's a toss-up race between Jack Christopher and Taba, right? I think that's the pronunciation. But
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Cyberknife sneaks in up the rail and takes the W. Jack Christopher fading badly at the end there. Maybe what the thing that we discussed about not one but two turns, maybe that was a story there.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see Jack Christopher try two turns again. So that's the end of that experiment. As soon as Cyberknife crossed the finish line too, I had Cyberknife in my Derby picks too. So I was like, so I wouldn't give up on White Abarrio, but I gave up on Cyberknife, and there you go. I give up on a horse and ran
a
great race.
50-50 chance of giving up on the right horse, Sean. And
yeah.
Unfortunately,
and what do we always say?
Yes, anytime there's a 50-50 choice, I seem to be on the wrong end of that. So I'm going to change that mentality going forward and think every time I make a 50-50 choice, it's going to land on heads for me.
Well, I guess play White Abarrio next time out because I'm going to be way off White Abarrio. That was not a good performance at all.
Yeah, it's going to be claiming 5,000. It should win.
Yeah. Cyberknife, that was a great race. Great ride by Giroux. Interestingly, Mike Smith had the rail where Cyberknife was in front of him, and he took Taba to the outside. Now, that's probably where the horse preferred to be. And actually, as a bettor, I usually like the outside horse too coming down the stretch. But that difference in lengths could have been the difference there.
It was just a good race by Cyberknife. I mean, just a better race. That's it, right? I mean, that's horse racing.
And I mean, he had a bad race in the Derby. He came back and did win a race before this race. So, I mean, he definitely rebounded after the Derby and definitely one to pay attention going forward. He's a quirky horse too. Like the fans can bother him, stuff like that.
Or maybe, maybe Tabia and Jack Christopher aren't what people think they are. I mean, that could be it too.
That could be it. I mean, but Tapia had some, at least to me, had some questions with the whole Baffert thing, everything else, the layoff. He did work out good. I don't think you can be disappointed in the race that Tapia had. And I think he's still going to have a great career depending on how long they run him. And Jack Christopher is going to too, because guess what? Jack Christopher
is going to go back to one-turn races.
And where he's unbeaten. So the time to start questioning Jack Christopher would be when he gets beaten with the one-turn. Obviously,
that might be a while.
And he finished third, and it was disappointing, and he'll never probably do two turns again. But it's not like he completely folded and finished last. What I mean?
But he did fold though against the top two races. He wasn't even close in that one, right?
Right. Yeah, I could tell as soon as he took the lead, and
Glad they did the refund. I did not get to see that race actually, but I did see that they're nice cars, Blake. We're doing horse racing, not car racing. The car racing show is next week, right? Please call him Taba. Okay, we'll call him Taba.
So I did see the Saratoga thing. An outrider thought the gate was stuck. So the outriders stopped some of the field. Some of the field didn't stop. Only I think 3 horses stopped. They ended up getting the gate off in time anyway. So everybody but 3 horses continued to run to the wire. But then they had like a 10-minute thing after the race, and they declared it a no contest, which was the right thing to do.
I saw a race today at was it today or yesterday? I forget. No, it was at Del Mar yesterday where a horse they went all crazy and they took. I watched and this really wasn't where we were going to go, but we're going to talk about a review in a minute. But I was watching a race. And there was a bunch of horses. The 10 horse got off to a lead. The 9 horse kind of kept moving in, and he kept following it in. And then they went to an objection or inquiry, and the stewards reviewed it for 10 minutes. It took me like 30 seconds to see that the 10 never made contact with anybody else. The only one that did was the 9 horse. And even then, the other horse kind of leaned into it. I can make a decision in about 30 seconds. Okay, this is good. And then 10 minutes, I was like, come on already. Why do you think it takes them so damn long?
I don't know. And that's the same thing with photos. I mean, real good. It was the gate. That's right. I don't know why, even with the photos. I mean, when you watch races all day, you kind of know who won the photo, especially when it's clear as day. And at tracks, they'll say photo, and it will take 5 minutes. And I I don't understand what they gain out of doing that. But
I know, just to build the suspense.
Prolong it all. I don't know.
At least they can do is bring like Jason out with a chainsaw or something if they're going to build that much suspense. All right, so I don't think there was a whole lot of suspense in this. The jockey had to know this was coming. You sent me the video for this race. For the formal review is requested of suspicious race at, how do they pronounce that? I call it Assiniboia, but apparently it's not how you pronounce it.
It's so. Oh, no, I'm not gonna be. It sounds good in my head, but it's definitely not what you just said.
Yeah, I think Assiniboia sounds right to me, right? Anyway, Shawn. So in this, why don't you describe what happened in that race?
So Jockey had a huge lead. He had to be 8-9 lengths ahead.
He was way
and
ahead.
He looked back 3 times coming around.
He didn't just look back.
He was. It was like you're on a bike ride and you're way ahead of your friend, and you're like,
"Are you coming?
Are you coming or not?"
Mm-hmm.
And look, and on here, and even
he looked both ways, right? He looked one time this way, one time that way.
And really slid the horse. I don't question jockeys. I never say this is fixed, that's fixed. You guys all hear that. This one I watched and went, what in the world? Like, I don't even know. Assiniboia.
Assiniboia. Oh, yeah. I don't know. How do you get out of ASS? What the hell language is that? Anyway.
So I don't question him. I watched this video and I was like, I don't even know how to justify this one. I know the horse was kind of like on the wrong lead and stuff, but I don't. And then what's weird is the horse ended up re-rallying to almost win. And actually, I think, again, if the jockey really tries at the end, he still wins the race. It still looked like kind of a lack of effort.
It looked really hokey to me.
Yeah, it was really weird. I have no idea what was going on there, but I can't defend that one. I'll do all kinds of excuses to defend. I can't defend that one.
Maybe he bet the other horses in his stable duel account.
I guess. Somebody said too, as soon as he saw the whichever horse, it was the 3 or 5, whichever horse he was trying to see, all of a sudden he re-rallied. So I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, I have no idea either. But we're going to find out what was going on with that review. And I got a feeling
I wonder how long
he's going to get a couple days no matter what, because it just looked too hokey not to do anything. That's for sure.
Oh, I think he may get months out of it.
Yeah, I think so.
As big of a media storm this has created too. I mean, it didn't go unnoticed.
No, it did not. You know what might go unnoticed to some of our friends at TVG might go unnoticed, because FanDuel is going to rebrand TVG as Watch and Wager Network. And guess what? The one thing they're not going to be watching or wagering on, Shawn?
Horses.
Yeah, they're going to do tertiary sports like South Korean baseball.
Yeah.
There's no mention of horse racing in there. So what do you think of that? That's going to be like that's kind of like a legend gone bye-bye.
Yeah, it's sad, and I don't understand how another sport like that's going to bring in more of an audience than horse racing. I don't understand it. We'll see how long the transition is. Hopefully by then, all our friends at TVG were making money, and then we can give them jobs, right?
Yeah, right. You're going to come work for us. You know how much we're paying? Yeah, we're going to, remember in math when you multiplied everything by 0, the answer was 0. Well, that's the sort of math we do around here, because that's how we do. So, yeah, it says Korean football, pickleball. What in the hell? What is pickleball, Shawn? You know what pickleball? I don't even know what that is.
No, I don't either. I've heard of it a million times, but I still don't know exactly what it is. No, it's going to be like an ESPN Ocho thing where you see all these weird sports on.
And they're going to have the movie Dodgeball then around it?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they get Chinese basketball, Korean football, and pickleball. I can't imagine what the ratings are going to be for pickleball. I can't wait, Shawn.
Well, and that's, who thinks that brings in more audience, but it's sad that somebody actually thinks that would bring in more
Chinese, Korean soccer fan.
Because we look at it. We keep saying, look at these crowds. It's not like people aren't watching horse racing.
So I have an idea. If there's any investor out there that has a little bit of money that would like to partake in that idea, email me at gtsrichb@gmail.com. Let's talk. If you're interested in investing, we can capitalize on that situation, I feel, Shawn. Speaking of which, maybe what we can do is we could just put a lot of money on the Seattle Mariners tonight, because that's our picks by the professor. Picks with the professor's play of the day. So if you have not done it yet, there's still time. You can catch the play of the day with the professor every single day at pickswiththeprofessor.com/play. There is a link to it in the description here on YouTube. Please click on it if you want to see all of his picks for the day for the statistics teacher, professor, excuse me. There's a link for that in there as well. And while you're over there, please go in the comment section and give him hell. Let him know that you came from horseracingtoday.net. And in the morning, when you wake up or maybe you're at work and you're trying to waste a little bit of time, one of the things that you can do that might be useful is bet over at the Glorious Goodwood. Tom and I, just a little while ago, got together to talk about the first day of racing at the Glorious Goodwood, which is tomorrow. It's going to start at about 9:30, the first race that we did. Our picks are right here on YouTube. All you need to do is, while you're here, click on the subscribe button, hit the bell, and then you can go ahead and watch that or follow us on our social sites at Horse Race Today for Facebook, for Instagram, which I don't know how to use, and Twitter, which apparently I don't know how to use either, even though I have an account. You can do that. And then tomorrow, Shawn, who's our guest?
Tomorrow we have Romero Mirage, jockey at Gulfstream Park. He's been around for a little bit. And then Wednesday we have Deshaun Parker, newest member of the 6,000 Win Club.
Looking forward to both being on here. Thursday night, we're still working on that. Tomorrow is my last day of flying solo. I will be back at 12 o'clock to cover Colonial Downs, so make sure you tune in for that with my handy-dandy pace chart and my circular thing like Troy Aikman, my telestrator for horse racing. You're going to want to see that. And then Wednesday, I'm expecting Terry back for Delaware Park. Thursday, we'll go ahead and take our shot at Saratoga. Tom and I will be back on tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Eastern, Wednesday at 6 o'clock Eastern, Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern, to go over the other days of the Glorious Goodwood. At first, we were going to do our normal time, but something came up for me on Friday, so we're going to reschedule Friday at a time that works for Tom. And then, of course, Spot Plays is back on Saturday with Eddie C, and Chris P. I don't know why I keep doing that. So,
yeah.
And then next week, Shawn, we're going to have a new host, right? That's going to take my place every now and then.
Yeah, Jamie Martinez, wife of Willie Martinez, good friends of the show. She will step in August 1st and then do every other week. Mm-hmm. So
we have forward to a little time off myself. Indeed. Thank you, Jamie, for that. I appreciate it. I cannot tell you how much. I'm YouTube ubiquitous today. I'm actually dry from talking
13 times this week. You're going to be on YouTube.
Jesus. They're going to shut down the channel for sure. They get him off. It's enough of that guy. All right. Well, that brings us wire to wire for today. Any final thoughts, Shawn, before we check out of here this Monday night?
No, I just looking forward to all these shows. Looking forward to seeing you on YouTube countless times throughout the day. Whenever I need to see Rich, I can just go to YouTube and pull him up.
Yes, indeed. Quick question. What's your take on Joe O'Brien horses at Saratoga? Turf too firm for them? I honestly haven't put much thought into it, Shawn. Have y'all look into it and see?
No, I haven't really. I didn't put any thought into that neither.
Yeah, it's been a weekend of unfortunate family issue for me. So I didn't really have a lot of time to spend a lot of time at the track this weekend, just getting back to it today. And some other events related to the weekend I'll have to deal with later on in the week too. So, but I will take a look at it. I thank you for that, Black Diamond.
I would say it was probably too fair. Those overseas horses like a little softer. So
usually they do like a little bit softer. Yeah, it's been blazing hot out by you, so the ground is probably pretty hard. Yeah.
So we probably don't even need to watch. I would say that's probably 100% true.
I would agree. I would probably agree with you. All right, Shawn, that takes us wire to wire. You have a fantastic night. No matter what you're doing for the rest of the evening, if you're going to go over and join our Chris P. Yes, Chris P. with Fremont for the let me look it up. Assiniboia. I have no idea how ASS is As, but anyway, Assiniboia. Enjoy Chris over there with his Spot Plays charts. He will be back again tonight. Until then, Shawn, we hope that all your picks, no matter where they end up, are in the
winner circle.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic Monday evening, and thanks for joining us.